Thursday, July 30th. Before we dive in, do we have any public comment on items not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, Mr. Stegmeyer, what have you got for us?
Good morning, everyone. Today I have a request for you to sign off on 4 direct grant contracts. These are grants intended to provide a small amount of supplemental assistance to some of our official user groups that maintain county park facilities. Probably late April, May, we started to hear from a handful of our partners who attend to our sites with concerns about having budget shortfalls. A lot of them rely on fundraising events, their regular league seasons, and those activities to bring in their sustainment dollars to maintain the sites. With a lot of the cancellations for the seasons, cancellations for fundraising opportunities, such as the fair, for example, some of these groups had come to us and said, is there anything that you all can do to help us financially? We thought about our options, and what we came up with as staff and then worked through our advisory board was to set aside a small amount of our matching grant funds. We had about $8,000 left over from this past year's matching grants. And typically our board will recommend that those funds go to a priority project. This year, just given the importance that we place and the value that we place on our park partners, we as staff recommended the board consider using those funds in addition to a small amount of our FY21 matching grant funds to create some direct grants. We put out a call to our partners related to this, to these funds. We heard back from 4, and those are reflected in the contracts that you have before you now. So that's essentially the intent of this, is a small amount of financial support during this exceptional time for the partners that we have an official maintenance and management agreement for county park sites.
Great.
So total, what's the total award? Like 14, am I reading that? It really is small. It's not that much.
It's not that much, you know, and we didn't know exactly what all would come in. So we had made available just under 15,000, and the combined amount I don't have before me, but it's far less than that. We have a handful of requests in the $1,000 to $3,000 range.
John, did the Missoula Mavs put in a request at all?
The Mavericks did not. They didn't get one in, I should say, at least not on the deadline. They did acknowledge that they received it, and they are going to submit one for consideration in August by our full board is the plan. So we do expect to hear from them. They are aware that we're the balance, at least for what has been set aside for this particular program, is around 6,000. So they know that it's not a huge amount of money. And I do believe from what they've conveyed to us that they're facing a much larger shortfall than that. However, I do expect that our board will get to consider a request from the Mavericks in August.
All right. Thanks, John.
Sure.
I move to approve the recommendation from Parks and Trails Board Matching Grant Subcommittee.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, John.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thanks, John.
You.
Yeah.
All right. Gina is up next.
Right, let me get my camera turned on here. All right, here I am. Okay, so today what I'm here to ask is approval of an amendment to our 2020 cooperative agreement with with DPHHS, specifically the Food and Consumer Safety section. You may remember, and you may not, because you hear a lot of contract approval requests, but each year we renew our contract with DPHHS and Environmental Health, and what that contract does is set out the types of inspections or types of licensed facilities that our local health department agrees to inspect. It also sets out a reimbursement schedule for that work, meaning if we get to a certain number of inspections, or excuse me, a certain percentage, that kind of golden percentage being 90%, then we will be reimbursed our portion of the annual license fee at 100%, at an 100% rate. And so you know that things have been pretty different here this year at the health department, and the license establishment team, it's a group of 4, hopefully someday 5 full-time individuals who do these types of plan reviews and inspections and complaint investigations, but they have all been reassigned full-time to the incident command team. And I reached out to Food and Consumer Safety Section Supervisor Ed Evanson in probably mid-April, asking him what the plan would be for a jurisdiction that was certainly working their tail off to prevent the spread of infectious disease in their community, but also was doing so at the expense of completing routine inspections at the same rate. So he kind of kicked that idea around to some other environmental health program managers and put forth a proposed amendment. Actually, Shannon and I had a pretty big hand in writing this amendment because their first proposal was actually kind of onerous. You would have to have shown that your jurisdiction was responding to the COVID-19 pandemic in a really specific way, and you would have to document the date and type of communication with each licensed establishment in order for it to kind of be a routine inspection by proxy. We have like 1,600 licensed establishments, so that to track that and report the type of communication and the date would be pretty difficult to do, but we have, of course, been doing a ton of documentation. So what this amendment would allow is for counties like ours to submit a quarterly report that looks very different than the typical quarterly report of the number of routine inspections we've done for each license type, but rather summarized all the different ways we have been communicating with our licensed facilities. So targeted email blasts or creation of guidance documents. We've had some community Teams meetings or Zoom meetings where we've invited all of our food and beverage operators. We've done some Facebook Live and some YouTube Live where people could, business owners could log on and ask us questions in real time. So those types of activities are probably the most critical piece of work that we're doing right now, and we want to be reimbursed for that, or at least not penalized for not completing some of our lower risk inspections. And I'm going to leave it at that. It's a pretty short amendment, and I'm really open to answering any questions that you might have about it. What this does is say that we'll get all of our money if we provide a quarterly report that shows that we've been working very hard.
This just sounds like kind of adaptation to our current context.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And, you know, I'll sit here with my fingers crossed, hoping that we don't have to do a 2021 amendment to a cooperative agreement. Yeah. But, you know, I don't know what it'll look like in 2021, but this will get us through knowing that in addition to the extra expenses that are accruing for the response, we also won't be shortchanged for not, you know, getting out to inspect a wetted tape acre.
Do you know what other communities in the state have done trying to deal with the same issue?
Yeah, it's really varied. So I would say our approach is very similar to some of the larger counties like Butte-Silver Bow is in, when I speak with John Rolla, just an identical boat to us as far as the reassignment of their licensed establishment inspectors. But there's a lot of counties, you know, among the 56 counties, there's I would say maybe a quarter of them actually don't employ their own full-time sanitarian. They contract with a sanitarian who does this type of work for several counties because there's just such a lower number of licenses. So it's pretty variable, and some of those counties that have maybe 17 or 18 licensed establishments have said, we're going to get in there. We're still going to get in there every year. And we are doing actual inspections. We've kind of adapted our on-site inspections. We're trying out kind of a virtual walkthrough where we'll call an establishment owner and talk to them first about if they have any questions or concerns about mask wearing or distancing or disinfecting, you know, the COVID kind of policies and protocols, and then also ask them to take us through any changes, maybe walk us through the kitchen, let us know how things are going, and we'll count that. It's kind of a virtual inspection. I think some counties have adopted that approach as well. And then there are some inspections that we do have the capacity to do, specifically trailer court inspections. You don't come into contact with anybody on a trailer court inspection, typically, and those inspections are done by a different group of sanitarians. So those are all going to be completed. We've also committed to doing a fair chunk of our pool inspections, if not all of our pool inspections this year, knowing that although there are rules in place for distancing in swimming pools, it's really difficult, especially when they're frequented by kids. And so CDC has indicated that properly chlorinated pool water greatly reduces the transmission of the virus. And so we're trying to get out to all of our pools, at least to focus on the concentrations of disinfectant. So if our pools are going to be open in the era of COVID, we want to make sure that there's enough chlorine or bromine. So we are out doing inspections as we can, or as we have identified them as pretty critical. But across the state, it's pretty variable. Counties have taken a, yep.
So is DPHHS okay with this proposed language?
Yeah, this came from them. I mean, Shannon and I wrote it in conjunction with Ed Evanson. I think that they are still sorting out how this is going to work in their fiscal record keeping, because, you know, their system is set up to have one date for one license number equal one dollar amount for reimbursement. But yeah, this is the same amendment that's been proposed to all the counties. This isn't just for Missoula County.
Got it. Okay, thanks. I move that we approve the amendment.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks a
Thanks
lot.
so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, next, we have an MLIA grant. Anybody can speak to this?
Tyler added this one on, and he
We
thought
talked
maybe
about this the
Chris,
other day.
yeah, maybe Chris could talk on it. I'm not sure.
I really can't. I know that Tyler was going to meet with you about this during his department meeting.
Yeah.
This is a grant that they applied for, continuing their records project on the recording side.
Yeah, he told us, they filled us in a couple of days ago on this.
The most amazing record project in the country.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Super cool. Well, should we just make sure that this continues on?
Correct. I guess that would be my clumsy motion. I motion we approve the statement of work for the Montana Land Information Act.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have Sarah Bell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just two pretty straightforward board appointments today. The first is the Clinton Rural Fire District. We had an interview with Ann Steinberg earlier this week via phone, and she's retired, excited to be a part of a local board, and wants to use her expertise to help with bylaws. So Clinton Rural Fire District is short 3 members right now, so it sounds like Ann could be pretty beneficial to the board and help recruit some more members. So she'd be filling a vacant term to the end of May 31st, 2021.
Great. She was a good one.
Wow, has emergency care experience and has a love for bylaw revision. That's
Yeah, we should put her on a few more boards that frequently haggle with their bylaws.
oh,
I would move that we appoint Ann.
second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Thanks.
And the next one's for Karen Stockman with the Weed Control Board. So the Weed Control Board has had this vacancy for quite some time. I want to say a couple of years. They just haven't had much luck recruiting a qualified candidate. Karen's resume is quite impressive in this field. And so this would be for a vacant term through December 31st, 2022. I didn't attend the interview, but I checked in with Bryce and he supports her being on the board and thinks she'd be a good fit.
Yeah, she was great. An actual weed expert.
Yeah. I move to appoint Karen Stockman as a member of the Weed Control Board.
Second.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right. Erica Grindy is going to rave at us.
She even has some blue light going on.
I know. I thought that was her Debbie Downer kind of mood change there. So, yeah.
Erica, you're muted.
And frozen up, sort of.
My. Mute frozen. The terrible 2020 affliction.
So while Erica is getting hers going, maybe I can give you a little history on this, since this started in
Great.
the Office of Emergency Management, if Erica's okay with that. So the Rave safety system is part of our Smart 911 package of products that we use here in Missoula County. This is one that allows any of our employees with a smartphone to have an application on their phone that allows them to just touch a button and it sends their location automatically to 911. So it has a button for fire and for a need for law enforcement or for medical to help kind of ease that process of dispatch, since not everybody is, especially now, tied directly to their desk phone. So this is a one-year renewal for that. And Erica's back and in live motion, so I'll stop talking with the history of it.
All right.
Still muted, Erica.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Erica.
Erica, they can't hear you.
You're still showing muted.
Shoot.
Well, this looks like a worthy thing to do.
Yeah.
It is a beneficial application. We actually charge this out through a separate line in the fringe rate, so we collect the same amount from departments that then covers the cost of the contract for it as well. So it's while it's still it is billed out proportionally to departments.
So Chris, how does
anyone used
how
it?
does one get this app on their phone?
So they talk about it during the employee orientation, and I'd be happy to have either Adrian or Nick or even somebody from Erica's staff, maybe Erica's back with volume, potentially show you guys how to get it on there. Still no volume,
Great.
Erica.
I think I have it. The panic button.
You do it. Yep, that's
You
the one
got
right
one?
there that says panic button. And so when you're in any of our buildings, it will share your location. Yep, and so we can help you get it on there, Josh. So if you're ever in one of our buildings, when you do that, when you push that, it will send your location to 911 as well as directly connect you for voice to 911.
Great.
Has
Okay, can
anyone?
you hear me now?
Oh,
We can hear
yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay.
Yay.
So you're just going to hear me because I've tried the camera on the phone and it just doesn't work very well, and it is worse than not being heard in some ways. So I heard a bit about what Chris said, and I think you all understand this is the panic button you can get on your phone. I think the only piece I want to add here is we are renewing for a 1-year term. If you look at the renewal quote, there are options for a 3-year and 5-year. I spoke with Dave Wall. In order to enter into the 3-year or 5-year, we would need to go through a procurement process based upon the dollar amount. So he and I are going to put that on both of our calendars for first thing in calendar year 2021, so that we can actually do a potential procurement process, because it would be certainly a savings of a little over $1,000 if we did the 3-year, and that's on a per year basis, or a little bit more if we went even beyond that. So that is on the agenda, but I do think this is worthwhile to continue. And I don't know if Chris mentioned it, we did get to see this operationalized in February of this year when we had that potential active shooter event. With that, I'll certainly answer questions, but otherwise I would request that you approve the 1-year renewal, and this is for the chair to sign.
Okay, I'd move that we authorize Josh to sign the renewal.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
So it goes.
Great,
Okay,
thanks.
thanks. And you're up again.
I am. So the next is a professional service agreement with Payne West Insurance. The county's had a long-standing relationship with Payne West through employee benefits. Payne West serves as the broker for what we call the ancillary benefits. Those include the life insurance, the long-term disability, the long-term care, accident, critical illness, and short-term disability, some of which are paid for employees by the employer, and some are elected by the employees to be self-paid. In addition to that, Payne West also serves as the broker for the benefits plans, excess insurance. That insurance comes into play when a member of the benefits plan has medical and dental claims that exceed $450,000 per plan year. So Payne West assists us in obtaining that insurance. When I came on board, we did not have a professional services agreement with Payne West, but we were paying approximately the value of this in broker fees. So we were able to negotiate with Payne West this contract, which puts into place some pieces that I do need assistance with in terms of reviewing our plan to make sure it's in compliance with things like the Affordable Care Act, or right now, frankly, really looking closely at the CARES Act and potentially this HEALS Act to make sure that our benefits and certainly our COBRA notices and all of those things comply with these federal regulations. The way we did it is the contract removes the broker fees for the stop loss insurance. So frankly, we're not paying any more than we were when I came on board, but we're actually getting more services from Payne West. So for me, it's a huge assistance, even in non-pandemic times, but I can't tell you how helpful it is to have some individuals who spend all day long monitoring these regulatory changes that are just coming faster than I certainly can keep up with them.
Thanks.
Great.
Well, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Erica.
Yeah, you answered my question as to whether or not we are getting our $50,000 worth out of them.
I-
They absolutely are, Dave.
I move to approve Slotnick signed the professional services agreement. Payne West. Oh, I just got a notice that Herman Cain died of COVID.
Seriously?
Herman Cain, the
Yeah.
pizza magnate who ran for president.
Yeah. So it says
Bad
Washington.
pizza. Okay.
Interesting.
Sorry.
Where were we? I'll second. I'll second
We-
that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Erica.
Okay, John Hart.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
What I have for you this morning is a settlement agreement and release in the matter of Freestone LLC v. Missoula County. You may recall, we've talked about it. Freestone sued Missoula County in State District Court following the board's denial by a 2-to-1 vote on January 30th, 2020 of Freestone's request for an extension of 1 year to complete phase 1 of the Stillwaters on the Clark Fork number 3 subdivision. And that's a 71 lot major subdivision in the area of Tacoma Ranch and Mullen Rose. Because of the extension denial, Freestone is unable to develop and plat any part of that subdivision. So the lawsuit alleges that the board's decision was arbitrary, capricious, and unlawful in that the denial lacked sufficient facts and objective evidence to support the decision. The lawsuit also alleges the board violated the equal protection guarantees of the Montana and federal constitutions. Freestone wants money damages from Missoula County for the hundreds of thousands of dollars Freestone allegedly spent developing the subdivision. Also for past and other future economic losses, and for attorney's fees and costs. Now, while I did not verify those out-of-pocket development costs, I honestly have no reason, based on my experience, to question those alleged amounts. And I believe Missoula County would face a judgment well into the 6 figures if Freestone prevailed in this suit. If you choose to approve the settlement agreement, Missoula County is agreeing to allow Freestone until December 15th, 2020 to file the final plat of phase 1. Freestone must then meet the current deadlines to file all other phases of the subdivision. We would also be asking, or we'd also be agreeing to jointly stipulate with Freestone to dismiss the lawsuit with prejudice, and we would ask Judge Larson to enter the agreement as a final judgment in the matter. While the board's decision to deny the extension request may be defensible, and Freestone's claims could be denied by the court, it's my professional judgment that the lawsuit has sufficient merit and the potential financial risk to the taxpayers if we lose in court is too great to not settle under the terms of the agreement. I recommend that you approve it and sign it, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about it.
So, John, I feel like I need to apologize because I pushed so hard on this and the guilty party. I don't know if that makes me unlawful and Dave is capricious and Juan is arbitrary, or I should be arbitrary and Dave should be capricious and Juan should be unlawful, but we are a triumvirate in this.
Josh, this is not a browbeating session. There's nobody is to blame. We talked about this before. It is what it is, and I've told you what I think you ought to do.
Yeah.
For all the reasons why I think you ought to do it. But there's no reason for you to have any particular regret about what you did.
Thanks for saying that. So is it right then to say that since this did the law change in 2017 such that if someone was to apply for an extension past after that, that the rules are different? I'm saying this in a clumsy way, but
That's correct, Josh. If for all subdivisions that are given preliminary plat approval after May of 2017, there will be a different procedure that Missoula County can follow and must follow in determining whether or not to grant extension requests that are akin to the extension request that Freestone asked in this lawsuit.
I mean, I'm fully in agreement with you on all this, and my concern was looking at this, remembering this situation. It did appear that there was a pretty profound safety consideration, which was what was behind our denial of the extension. And if something like this comes up in the future post 2017, you're saying we would have the opportunity to make sure that extension was conditioned?
There would be a better opportunity to see that those safety opportunities are addressed.
And going forward on this specific subdivision, those safety opportunities won't be addressed.
This subdivision must comply with the conditions of subdivision approval that were imposed by the Board of County Commissioners when it was given preliminary approval in 2005.
Great.
Well, I would move that we approve the settlement agreement.
Yeah, second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, thank you very much. I'm going to go back to get off this call and go back to another endeavor, and Brian West will come in and fill in for me. Thank you very much.
Hey, John, before you leave,
Yes?
so I take it wasn't a point of contention, but was there any pushback as far as the plaintiffs wanting attorney fees covered?
No, that was never on the table as part of this settlement agreement.
Okay, thank you.
John, does the neighborhood, the existing neighbors and who are affected by this, do they have any recourse?
That's debatable.
Thank you.
What I can tell you is that if they have recourse and if they attempt to assert that against Missoula County, we have the written promise from Freestone LLC to participate in defending Missoula County's actions here today and to file the final plat of phase 1 of this subdivision.
I remember that it was quite an organized number of neighbors, and it's hard for me to imagine just being okay with this.
That remains to be seen.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thanks.
I'll see you at 2 o'clock.
All right.
Yes, we'll see you then. All aboard, John.
Right on.
All right, Erica, you're back.
I'm back, and hopefully you can see me.
Yeah. You're
good.
fully together.
So the final item I have for you today is an engagement agreement for Gary Zadek. This is actually, it's kind of some cleanup that I didn't realize had not previously occurred, which I apologize for. A prior commission with only, I believe, Dave on had recommended to engage Gary following the resolution of the Johnston plaintiffs' claims against Missoula County arising out of the Glen Eagle subdivision. We hired Gary to review the county's insurance policy with our excess liability insurer to see if we had any recourse against the insurer when they denied contribution towards that settlement. As I've shared before, but not probably something you all think about as much as I do, we have a $1 million retention on that liability policy. We settled that claim with the Johnston plaintiffs for a little more than $2 million plus our attorney's fees to Steve Carey. And so that the prior commission, that was the hope that we would attempt to recover that approximately $1.5 million that is above our $1 million retention. That money would go back to the taxpayers who we issued a judgment levy to pay out that judgment. So I'm bringing this because Gary has been in discussions with the insurer. It's not moving anywhere, which I'm not surprised about, but he's ready to file a complaint. So he's ready to start litigation. And as any good attorney would, he was reviewing his files and said, oh my goodness, we don't have an engagement agreement. And so he wants to make sure he has that agreement so that when he files this, he knows he has the Board of County Commissioners approval to file litigation as is required by statute. So it's really just a cleanup here. I would recommend signature and allowing him to move forward. And we can talk about the logistics of this at a future meeting, which I do think would be helpful, and invite Gary to attend. But obviously, if you have any questions related to the specific litigation, I asked for this to be last so that we could close it, because that would be delving into litigation strategy.
I don't have any questions right now. This seems like a prudent thing to do.
Yeah, but I look forward to, a future briefing for sure. And so, yes, I move to approve this engagement letter. Glad we can move forward on it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, do we have any correspondence?
Yeah, I guess this would fall under correspondence. As a follow-up to our meeting with Sharon the other day out of Senator Tester's office regarding the Corey Steve collaboration in the Senate there on the Relief for Main Street Act. Do we want to contemplate submitting a letter of support for that piece of legislation?
Yeah. Oh, and she's from Danes' office, right?
Yeah, Sharon's from Dane's office.
Yeah.
It's like we should.
I wasn't able to make that meeting. Can you kind of recap the peaks and valleys?
Whew, that is asking a lot.
Or support Main Street.
There was a lot of good stuff in there. My concern on this was that, given our relationship as a county to CDBG, that we wouldn't be getting money directly. We would be getting it through the state. Is that, Chris, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So only entitlement cities or counties are directly eligible to be recipients. And for a county to be an entitlement county, it has to have more than 200,000 people outside of its incorporated cities or towns, which of course, Missoula County doesn't have 200,000 people even with its incorporated city. So we would have to apply for the state through that. We have been very successful in the past in those applications through the work of Melissa Gordon and others and CAPS. And so I would anticipate that we would probably receive some funding, but we just won't know that amount. It's unlike the city, which will get a direct allocation.
I wonder if in our letter we could emphasize that to the extent possible, if the bill could make the process as least onerous as possible for us to tap into the state allocation, that would be great.
Yeah, I think we should note that. I think we should note that and support this.
And I think, what was the date, Josh? Do any of you remember? Next week sometime they needed this?
It was in the near future.
Yeah, it was August. I believe it was by August. Friday is the 7th. I think they said technically the 8th on the call, but I think we could have this on your admin on August 4th, which would be in time.
Okay, I'll be out of town, but go ahead and feel free to forge my signature or stamp it or whatever.
Maybe given this is a national thing, those stipulations, though it feels like to us it doesn't make sense, it kind of makes sense given that most counties fit that model. We're unusual. We're like, but whatever, it's going to work. And given that we have a great grants department who's very fluent in CDBG, it'll work. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good call on that. Okay, a discussion item on budget amendments.
Good morning, commissioners. So we've been doing all this discussion about fiscal year 2021. I'm going to roll us back to the good old days of fiscal year 2020. In state law, it's required that our budget, in essence, be amended to reflect all of our expenditures. With COVID-19 this year, we certainly have had some expenditures come up that were not included in our budget. And also just during that period, we had some grants come in that also need to be added to the budget. And then there are a few just sort of cleanup items in terms of amending the budget to have that all prepared for the audit of our fiscal year 20. Some of the cleanup items are just instances where we budgeted, for a transaction to happen a certain way. And when the transaction came up, we ended up doing it just a little bit differently. So there's really nothing shocking or that I would say is particularly new or you haven't heard in some way, shape, form, or other yet. But I'll be presenting the budget amendments to wrap up fiscal year 20 at the August 6th meeting. And I just wanted a chance to talk to all of you while I had all three of you and just kind of give you generally the background of what that is. And that it's just kind of a standard thing we do every year. Are there any questions?
Standard during a pandemic.
Standard pandemic.
It's as standard as we're going to get for this year. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Okay, Adrian, do we have any COVID or fire stuff?
I don't believe she's on the call.
Okay. Does anybody else have any COVID or fire?
I do not.
Other natural disasters?
No, thank you very much.
No natural disaster, but a shout out to Michelle Denman and Allison and Sarah and Emmy for all of their work getting a sponsorship page up and running on the Montana Passenger Rail Summit website. So
yeah, well done.
We are, and it looks like, do we have a member of the media on the line? We did there for a second, but yeah, I was going to point out that website to them. I will do so this afternoon during our public hearing, though.
I know that there are a couple donations have been made already.
Rumor has it, yes.
Both Arbitrary and Capricious have donated to you. Yeah, well, congrats. That was great work. Great work done. Look forward to the summit and excited to hear the senator's support this morning.
Yeah, that was good, some solid support.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Any upcoming events, invitations, anything to sign? Other comments or instructions? Okay, I believe we have 12 free minutes.
Well done. Thanks,
Right.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.